Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dimensional Walking. And today I am going to be talking about something that came to my mind a couple of weeks ago. And I thought it would be kind of fun to have a little chat about it because it's really weird how sometimes things will come back to you and out of the blue, and you're trying to figure out why. But I think things come back to you when you really need to remember them, when when you get the lesson, or something's happening in your life when maybe it makes more sense. But this was something that a medicine man had told me back in my early 20s. And I had no clue what he meant by what he had told me, but I thought I would share with you what he said and kind of what I've come to understand throughout the years of probably what he meant. At the time, I was just starting on my medicine way, and it just didn't a lot of things didn't make any sense to me. I was dealing with the paranormal on a level that was pretty scary at that point. And I fortunately was able to find, group of people who were able to help me out in understanding kind of my path and that I could handle it. The reason why I was experiencing all this stuff is because I was a medicine woman, and it didn't make it any easier for me at the time, but it gave me something to grab onto so that I wasn't so alone. I didn't feel like an island, kind of floating out there by myself. So when the other day, when I was just thinking back, what could I write for Paranormal Underground? This came back to me, this memory. And Thunderbow said this to me, and I thought it was really interesting at the time, didn't understand it. But what he told me, he said, it's important not to collect the very things that scare you. And I thought, well, why would I do that? But actually, we do. I think it's in our human nature to collect that which scares us. We hold on to things for a variety of reasons. And I kind of wanted to look at those reasons because who knows why the paranormal decides to knock on our door. And for me, it was at a very young age. And I think it's for many people. I'm not unique or special in any way. I think a lot of you who are watching our channel know that you're here because you know it's happened to you, and you're looking for answers just like we are. And I think that's why we tend to hold on to the things that scare us, or we tend to hold on to experiences. And so maybe what Thunderbow meant was don't hold on to those experiences, but at the same time, because we do hold on to them, and because of what we all experience, but we tend to go looking for the answers. And I think because the paranormal is so vast, just like the universe, and we have no idea the extent of what's in the paranormal. I mean, I think it's dimensions. I think it's multiple realities. And I just think that we're always constantly searching for those answers when it comes to specific things that have happened to us. And that's what I decided to write about for Paranormal Underground. I got this interesting article going. And I did one thing, though. I wanted to kind of see on the internet what I could find out about this particular topic. And something that came to my mind was children, because it really does start out with us being so young and experiencing the paranormal. And usually we're kind of at that point where we're alone anyways, if we're lucky enough to have parents who kind of understand and try to figure out what's going on. I think that's, a lot of us have had caring, loving parents, but sometimes the situations happen to us and not even our parents can help us because they don't know how. But I wanted to look something up. And so I Googled childhood phobias. And here it says, a childhood phobia is an exaggerated, intense fear that is out of proportion to any real fear found in children. It is often characterized by a preoccupation with a particular object, class of objects, or situation that one fears. And so I kind of understood that, a lot of times what we'll do as children, when we have something really scary and it's out of our control, we just try to figure out how to deal with it. We just kind of push it away And it just gets collected in, or under the rug. It gets collected under the rug. And because we're the jailers, or we're the keepers of whatever these things are, we can just throw away the keys at whim and not even think about it until it regurgitates itself back up and we're dealing with it as adults. And so I think that what Thunderbolt meant at that point was, if you don't deal with it, if you don't learn how to deal with it, if you don't let it go, then what happens to it is it just stays with you and it lives with you. And I think that we can haunt ourselves with memories and with experiences that we've had. If we collect them and keep them with us, we can actually create another problem for ourselves, or continual problems for ourselves, depending on what type of experiences that we're having. I mean, I had experiences with witches at one point in my life. I found that very crazy because I never really thought I would attract that, but I obviously did. But I've since let that go. I've attracted shadowy experiences with silhouette type, shadowy, creepy people and monsters or blobs or whatever it is you want to call it. And I've had that happen to me since I was a child, and it's still happening to me to this day. So why do I still have that experience or these experiences, and what's going on about it? And I also thought about a couple other things too. And I remembered when I was a kid that, and this is one experience that I did have that kind of made sense. And I didn't realize I was still doing something habitually until just recently. Now, I remember when I was a young child, the short grays would say to me, "Listen for us," because they would come through my closet. And that's why I have a closet phobia to this day. I don't like closets at all. And so when I would go to bed at night, I would kind of freak out because I think, oh, well, mom and dad are going to hear them, or the dog's going to bark at them, or my sisters will hear them. And every single night they would come, and it seemed like nobody heard them. And they would take me and we would do whatever. But I noticed that because I did it so much, and I as a child, you do what you're told, right? So these grays didn't seem to be that scary, and I would just listen for them. Well, I listen for them to this day. So when I go to bed, I'll go and lie down, and my cats will be with me. And I'll listen to see if everybody's sleeping. And I kind of lie in bed, and I'm waiting for something to happen. And that means I can hear any sound. If Beepo, if his head pops up, and that's the orange tappy we have. If his head pops up and, he hears a noise, I hear a noise, I can actually feel the bed move, or I can hear footsteps by the edge of my bed, or if I hear something in the closet. I mean, I have this hearing that is pretty amazing, but it's like I still do it to this day. And so is that in a way me still collecting that which scares me? Is that like collecting monsters? Do we collect monsters based on habitual ways of living our lives? Is this something to think about? And I thought, why am I still doing it? Because I know that as far as I know, they haven't come to see me for quite a while. So who knows? I mean, that's one thing to think about. And then I thought about something else. I really love the Men in Black movie series. I mean, I think I have 1 and 2. Do I have 3? I'm not sure. Anyways, I have them, and I resonated with them so much so that I would just watch the first movie over and over and over again. And I realized that I had a lot of experiences when I was younger with the Men in Black, and that they weren't really scary to me, but just the movie itself kind of was confirmation to me that what I experienced when I was younger wasn't my imagination. Because if they're making a movie about something like that, then maybe possibly it could be real. But I think that there's things that we do in our lives where things resonate with us because of past experiences. And so we kind of collect different things based on experiences. So I collect these movies because of my experiences as a child. So in another way, I'm not saying the men in black are necessarily monsters. They're in the paranormal aspect, but still it's something that's kind of people think are very scary. And I just didn't happen to have that scary experiences with them from what I think. Now I know there's experiences that have been blocked out, and there's a couple that I almost remembered, and then all of a sudden something happens in my brain that says, no, you're not going to remember this. So I kind of just let that go. And sometimes there's memories you don't need to, or there's things that happen you don't need to remember. Just kind of leave them, you know, behind closed doors. But I thought that's interesting because I collect movies based on my experiences as a child and growing up. So there's different types of collecting, isn't there? And then I thought, well, as children, why is it that children will see things and, maybe somebody in the family won't? I don't think that it's that people don't. I think that people just tend to want to rationalize things. And I think people will rationalize the crap out of stuff to the point to where it's ridiculous, just to prove it's not real, even though it happened. I mean, I believe that people will trip over the truth in spite of themselves, and they won't look back because they think that in the rational world that this or that can happen in paranormal, and it happens every day to millions of people. So I just thought to myself, why with some families do certain people and families have more experiences and others don't? And I think it just has to do with the fact that there's some people who can deal with the memories and the experiences that happen to them, and some people who just can't. And I think that children, we learn as children what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in life. Even though scary stuff happens to us, we still experience it. It doesn't mean that the experience went away. It just means that we push away under the rug, and that's not healthy. And I have a note here where I looked up information on this, and there was a psychologist. His name is Charles Ferryho, I think, at Durham University, who told the Washington Post not too long ago imaginary friends were considered a precursor to mental illness. Now we know they're a positive sign of healthy child development, he said. Now adults come to be concerned if their kid doesn't have one. So that's interesting. So the little gray men and the little, the voices or the noise in the closet or the giggling in the room when nobody's there, all of a sudden it seems to be okay. My, how times have changed, haven't they? So anyways, I was thinking too, I mean, let's look at this. I mean, there's a lot of superstitions and things happening here in our world. And, we experience Day of the Dead. And I think that's very important, by the way, because I think it's important to keep sacred traditions and you need to honor the dead. I think that as souls, as spiritual people, we want to keep the spiritual aspect of our lives every single day in our lives. I mean, we want to live a spiritual life. Maybe some people don't. I mean, I can't answer for everybody, but I just think that maybe we pull to us the supernatural or the paranormal because the spiritual aspect of who we are as humans. It's just in our nature to want to kind of collect that which may be uncomfortable, but it's a part of our lives. And maybe that's what collecting monsters is all about. It's what a monster is to me may not be to you. I mean, I've had people who've told me that they've had cryptid experiences like with Sasquatch, where they thought Sasquatch is going to go after them and just tear them from limb to limb. Michael's heard dozens of stories where he heard about scary experiences that hunters have had while they were out shooting deer, hunting for deer, or fishing or whatever. And from what you would hear from them, Sasquatch is the most terrifying creature. But to me, Sasquatch is not. I love Sasquatch. They're the people. I would prefer to hang with them than actually humans. And Dogman, I'm not afraid of Dogman. I have a respect for Dogman, but there's people who have experiences with Dogman who literally consider them monsters. And I understand that. But that's what I'm saying, is what is a monster to one person is not a monster to another. And I find that very interesting. And I think that's something that we have to look at too. I mean, I'm not necessarily collecting Sasquatch, but the experiences that I've had with Sasquatch are huge and they have changed my life forever. I think that I have gained friends with them. Some people might find that crazy, but I don't. Other people might think that I'm collecting a monster here because they had a different experience with Sasquatch. But, that's the whole point of why I wrote this article, because there's different aspects of how we view this reality. And I also wanted to talk about, the monster within. I mean, I think that we're all dealing with different aspects of who we are in this reality. And I think that we're learning how to live with ourselves. And I think one thing that these last couple of years have done to people is it's changed their view of how they want to live their lives. You have to, when you sit around and you're hanging with yourself day after day, you either have to learn to like yourself, or you just learn to figure out how to get along with yourself. I don't want to just get along with myself. I want to enjoy my own company, and I always have, and I like myself. But there is that other part of me, that darker side, that she's always there. And I think that what we do in our daily lives is that we learn how to balance out the dark aspect of who we are and the light aspect of who we are. And it's not that I'm in a constant battle here. It's just that I think that's another aspect of the monsters that we collect, is that there's different aspects to our personalities that we need to understand and realize. And that could be considered like monsters, because maybe maybe how somebody views me when I'm in a bad mood and grumpy, I can become a monster myself. So collecting monsters is something that, if you look on the scale of it, it can involve every aspect of living life, the paranormal outside of that and within us. So basically, what I just wanted to say today is just think about, do you collect monsters, and how do you view that? What do you think about that? What do you think Thunderbow meant when he said that? If you have any comments, please feel free to just comment in and tell me what you think. I think it's a really good topic, and I think it's something that I like to share and understand how you guys think about it, because I think it was really interesting that he had told me that so many years ago, and now I just just remembered it out of the blue, and I thought, oh, that would be a really cool article. And how I ended the article was this. I said, as I look and see how many monsters I have collected, it's become clear that at least I know who they are. In recognizing how they came to be, I can understand better why they are still with me. As for the monster that is in me, I keep her at bay. I don't lock her up. I just stand my ground with her, because in the end, I remember who I am and where I come from. I don't collect what scares me. I set it free. So maybe that's what the whole point is that once you understand what scares you, and you understand the paranormal aspects of your life, and you try to figure out the answers, and you go searching for the answers, maybe that's what this is all about. But once you get the answer, set it free. So tell me what you think. If you thought this was something that was kind of goofy and silly, it's okay. You can tell me that too. But if you have any comments, anything you want to share, please do. I would love to hear what you think about this little, I don't know what we call this little chat. I'll call it a chat. So thank you guys for watching, and please subscribe and share us if you like us. Let your friends know about us. And if you want to write us, you can write us at dimensionalwalking@gmail.com. And you can check out Truth Seeker Forum. And Mike has a lot of wonderful articles there. And then please do, if you can, check out Paranormal Underground magazine. I believe they're www.paranormalunderground.net. And it's a great magazine, lots of good writers there, and I know Chad and Cheryl would appreciate it. So take care. Thank you for watching today, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.